Okay guys, in today's video we are pulling out the engine. Now I know you might be thinking, you just had a dyno day, why are you pulling it out? Well, someone just said he wants a D series engine and he would swap it for a B18, and I am looking for a B18. Not for right now, as I do have another D15 with a vtec head that we'll be putting into this car for now, but I mean there is some other things in the background that might be needing a B series. So yeah, today's video we're going to pull out this D15. I'm going to try and do it without taking out the axles. So I'm going to leave the wheels on, leave the axles in. I'm going to loosen this mount on the gearbox, see if I can drop the gearbox down so the engine tilts to this side, and then obviously loosen all the bolts and see if I can pull the engine towards this way, and see if we can just connect it from the engine without taking out the axles. Well, taking out the axles from the wheels, we'll still try and take it out from the gearbox, but I'll try and take it out without loosening up the suspension and all that stuff. I know it's possible if you don't mind the CV coming apart at the gearbox, but that makes a mess. That's just a greasy mess. I'm going to try and see if I can actually pull those axles out without loosening the suspension, because it's quite a, I don't like working in here. Then you have to take out the ball joints and all that stuff just to get this axles out. I'm not going to do that. If I have to, I will, but I'm going to try not to. But yeah, I think this is actually a good turning point, because now you're going to get the vtec engine in here. It's a much nicer, much cleaner engine. Secondly, this gearbox does not shift when you're redlining it, so if you try and do a snap shift at 7,000, it just doesn't want to go in. It goes in eventually, but you have to keep the clutch in, keep it on there, and then eventually it'll go in. So yeah, this car is fun to drive. It's been reliable so far. This engine is in good shape. I mean, it's boosted, and if you feel under here where this little breather is, there's no oil, so it's not breathing oil even while being boosted. It doesn't have that other breather line anymore. The box at the back is just also open to atmosphere. Doesn't have a catch can, and it's not blowing out any oil. It's not smoking. It is fouling the spark plugs a bit, but I think that's because of the tune. So yesterday I took the car out, plugged it into the computer, and tried to just play with the tune a bit, because you guys saw that dyno graph. If you saw the previous video, one of the previous videos, you saw that dyno graph, and you could see it starts falling off very quickly once it peaks. So I tried to just play with the temp sensors. So basically the calibration of the temp sensor down here and the calibration of the intake air temp sensor, they were wrong on the initial setup, so I corrected them, but then I thought that maybe threw out the tune. So then I put them back to the wrong settings again, and that didn't change anything. It felt like it made it worse. So yeah, let's see if we can pull this out without removing the axles first. Okay, so for the first time I'm going to be able to look at the clutch for a little bit, and I don't know if this is a stock clutch or if it's got a custom clutch on it. So now I think from here I should be able to see it. So right in the middle of the screen you can see there's a piece of clutch. If you look right in the middle of the screen now, there's no clutch, which means this thing has a button clutch in it, which is great news because I want to turn this thing up. And many people have said if you are making like this car 121 kilowatts, there's no need to actually go with the aftermarket clutch. All you have to do is, you know, just make sure you have a good condition OEM clutch and then it works. So this is actually very good news because now I know there's a button clutch in here. So if I wanted to push it up to its limit, which is 150 to 160 kilowatts, I hope that clutch will be able to hold it, where I know a stock clutch won't be able to hold it. Okay, so I finally have everything off. Alternator came out of there. Everything in front's off, all the wires are off. Got the T-bracket out, and I managed to disconnect the shifter linkage. I did not manage to disconnect it from the gearbox. I disconnected it from the shifter itself. So the shifter link is still attached to the gearbox, but it's not attached to the car anymore. So technically everything is loose. Now this is my rig to get it all out. I have some chain going around some of these bolts, and then this water neck. I have another one going to the gearbox mount, and this is the factory mounting place, all held together with a screwdriver and this rig that goes into the ceiling and steel bar across the beams for the roof. See if you guys can see in there. No. Anyway, this is like a cheap ratchet thing. Been laying in the rain for 100 years.
Perfect.
Okay, so here's the engine hanging from this rig. Now I know you guys think this looks dodgy, and it is, but what you do is you put this chain, see this chain is going to this side, but you put it on that side, and then the one that's going to that side, you put it on this side, so they're actually pinching each other together in a way, but you know, I don't recommend anyone doing it like this or this. This is not very secure, but you know, I have to do what I can do. So what I'm going to try and do now is get this clutch off, and like I showed you guys, I do think this is a button clutch. It does have a standard pressure plate, because I could find the name on it. There it is. So this is a stock pressure plate. It's probably a stock clutch as well, and they just modified it to be a button clutch. But that's good, because that means I can reuse this, and it should hold, you know, more power than just a stock clutch. And as I hoped, it does have a 4-puck button clutch. Okay, so we got the motor completely out. What I actually did was, while it was still on this ratchet, I lowered it down onto the whatever this rail thing is here, cradle. So I put it down here, and then while it was balancing here, I took the chains off, and then with the help of someone, I just grabbed it, picked it up, and we put it down here. These engines are actually not that heavy. Well, it's not light, but you know, it's not as heavy as you think it is. Hey guys, so it's definitely possible. You can take the engine out and the gearbox out without taking out the side shafts. So if you can see, the shaft is still connected in there. Same with this one. The wheels are still on, never took them off. There is a jack stand under it, not very high, quite a little jack stand. And here's the gearbox. I did manage to pull it out. It does limit you a bit, but because when you take this the engine out and the gearbox is free, you can move it. You can move the gearbox forward, and once you give it forward, you get more space between the long shaft and the. So basically, once it gets over here, it's far enough that you can get the shaft out on the one side, push it all the way into that shaft, because obviously this thing can slide back and forth. So you compress it all the way in, push that one all the way in, and then this one can, when you move it forward, can come far enough so it can come out without you removing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the new gearbox in the same way, and then drop the engine and connect them. Therefore, you don't have to deal with the axle nuts, don't have to take off the wheels. I find that a bit easier, especially if you don't have that big 32mm socket. Now, I mean, what's coming next? Basically, the reason why I took the engine out is I swapped that engine in that car for this engine. Now, I don't know if anyone knows what this is, but this is an older generation B series. This is a B18, I believe a B18 B3. It's a local engine for us. It's just a B18 on vtec. Of course, these are the ones with the strong sleeves and a much stronger bottom end. And yes, this is going into the car in the future. However, this is the other gearbox I have. This is a D series gearbox. So this is the one that's going into the car now. And what else is going into it? Well, if anyone has watched the channel, they'll know I've been working on this engine. So here I have it. Everything's ready. I'm going to start assembling, and this engine is slightly better because yes, this is a vtec head. So it's exactly the same engine. Only difference is this time we'll be using a vtec head on the same D15 bottom end. Stock parts, of course, you can see these are stock rods. These are just spare shop pistons, and just to keep the cost down. So I'm going to build all this, and then we're going to drop it in It is all nicely painted. You know, this is all nice, the gearbox is all nice and clean. So yeah, that's what's going in here. It's going to stay D-series for now. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. And you know, in the next video we'll probably see this getting all assembled.